Hi everybody, welcome to another video. So today we're going to have a quick look at the YT160. Now this is a Iwata, but basically they're all made by the same company. They're made by a company called Rongpeng in China. So this one is a Iwata, but it's a Y160. Now the Y160s are the same as the A610. This one is an Aeropro, but as I say, they're actually all made by the same company anyway. But you'll see the body is exactly the same. Apart from the colour, these things are exactly the same, but they have changed a few things. So what we're going to look at in this video today, we'll look at the air consumption of this, see what this is like compared to the A610 and compared to the R500. We'll see what the air consumption is like against each other. I suspect they're all about the same, but one of the things I've seen, I haven't looked at many videos actually, but I've seen that I'm a bit late to the party with this. Quite a few people have been saying this is a good gun to use for people at home, etc., because of the low air consumption. Now it is relatively low, but it's not that low. One of the things that they really need to sort their act out on, you get these on AliExpress, but I'm sure you can get them other places as well. And as I say, Rongpeng make them as well. So if you're buying them directly from them, they might have different information. But certainly the one I got here said that the air consumption is about between 11 and 12.5 CFM. Now that isn't LV. It's classed as an LVLP gun, low volume meaning the amount of air it uses, which is the consumption, and LP meaning low pressure. Well, all gravity fed guns are relatively low pressure. That's why people switch from over to gravity from the suction fed guns, you know, where you'd normally have a cup underneath the gun. And the reason for that is you get less overspray normally because you need lower pressure. With the cup at the bottom, you normally needed 60, 70 PSI, something like that. Whereas these, you know, 2 to 2.5 bar, so 29 to 36 PSI, and they run very sweetly. And you waste less product. So it's all about environmental really. So the LVLP tag of this, if you believe the specifications, doesn't apply whatsoever. This one, on the other hand, we'll look at the air consumption of all three of these guns to see which one uses more. This one is claimed about 3.5 to 4 CFM, and it isn't. This is about 7 or 8 CFM, and if you use it, you need to use this at about 2.5 bars, so about 36 PSI, to get reasonable results. It's actually even more than that. So don't go buying these things thinking you're getting a low pressure air gun. Now, I've already pitted up the R500 and the A610 together, so I'll put a link in the description of the video. So what I'm going to concentrate today on, we'll look at the air consumption of all three, but I'm going to concentrate today and just see what the Y160 is like compared to the R500, air consumption wise, but also pattern wise. So we'll do a spray out to get an idea of the pattern, because if you look at the other video, or those that know already, the A610 actually has quite a small pattern which is very concentrated, very wet, which I actually prefer for clear coat, but the R500 has quite a bigger pattern, so I think this will probably be a bigger pattern. Another thing we'll look at, and we'll just do that now, is the difference in the cap. The A610, as I said, the bodies on these, apart from the colour, are exactly the same. So we'll have a look at the cap and see the differences, because there is a difference. I have had them out the box. Well, I've obviously used the A610 before a few times. But you'll see this one here, I've got these in different sizes. That's 1.3, that's a 1.4. So this one here, the one on my right, your left, I think that would be, is the one that comes with the YT160. And this one here is the one that comes with the A610. Now, hopefully you can see that the caps are quite different. The air horns on the there, hopefully that's about the same. Keeps trying to go on my face. you can see there that the air horns are quite a bit bigger on this one, which is the one that comes with the 610. That's right, yeah, 1.4. So that comes with the 610. So the air horns are shorter on the YT160. The air holes are the same size, which is why I suspect that these things will use the same amount of air. And also, if you look at the R500, because if you're looking at a cheap spray gun, one of these three will be in your list for sure. Now the R500, if you look at that, the air holes are yet again the same size, so that's why I think the air consumption is going to be more or less the same. But you can see that the actual air horns are very similar in size, if not the same. Let's try and get that level, as the Y160, which is why I think the Y160 is going to spray the same. So we're going to do a spray out. We'll see what the pattern's like, because the pattern is quite important. I'll do a video on patterns. I've said that a couple of times lately, but I will do a video on patterns, because the pattern you're getting does influence the way the gun actually sprays and the uses it can be for as well. We'll try all three for air consumption. I'll put a camera on my head, try all three for air consumption, and we'll do a spray out between the YT160 and the R500. There's no spraying in this video, but I will get a video up of using this for base coat and for clear coat, and I'll put it up against this and maybe this or something else that I think is relevant, you know, in a similar sort of price range, something like that, and see what we get. So I'll stick the camera on my head and we'll do that now. So before we do a pattern test on this, one of the things that I missed out on the introduction video, when I got the A610 and also on the R500, they packed a hell of a lot of grease in this area here. Again, the link's in the description anyway, so if you want to see that video you can do, but I have already had this off. Let's pull that needle out first. I have already had this off, and this one isn't full of grease, so you shouldn't need to take one of these apart, but I recommend you do anyway, because it just in case mine's just a one-off, you know, and they normally do pack them full of grease, because you don't need all that grease in there, and it's actually in the air track. The air comes up here through this section here into the back of the tip, and then obviously comes out through the sides of the tip and through the air horn. This tract here is separate, which is for the fluid, and the two of them meet at the end. And what they did was they filled this full of grease, but I did check this, and I meant to put it at the start of the video, but you can see I haven't touched this, I haven't taken anything away or added anything, and there's no grease whatsoever, and hopefully you can see in there's no grease either. Hopefully you can see. I can't see what you're seeing, but hopefully you can see. So there's no grease in there at all. This is the actual sealing point, this cone here. This is what that spring pushes that cone against a recess in there, which is also cone shaped, so that gives you your seal, and then when you pull the trigger, that pushes that back, which takes it away, and that lets the air through, which as I say, this part is actually all live. In fact, you can see the exit hole just there, which is where the air comes through the handle and out there. So this is all live, so if they put grease in there, it can come through and onto your work, which is no good at all. So you don't need to take this apart, but I would do anyway if I was you, just to check if you've bought one of these. And we'll just put that back in, and I just use the needle to line it up. So if you put that in there, you should be able to get that in there, and then don't push the needle all the way in, then just push that in. It seals by, you can see a rubber, hopefully you can see a rubber O-ring there. It just seals on that rubber O-ring. Do that up, we can remove the needle, then it's just lined everything up. Pinch that back up, he says, and we're good to go, and we get on with the pattern testing. Right, so we've got the YT160. I'm setting it to 2 bar, which is 29 psi. I'll put it, the material in here is a combination of clear coat with some black tinter and some thinners. Gives it 18 seconds on a Ford cup, which is a DIN 4 cup, basically a cup with a 4mm hole. So what I'll do is I'll use the spanner to give us an idea of distance, about 8 inches, which is the length of the spanner, and then we'll go from there, and we'll just give it a few short pulls. Now I'm going to lift that up straight away so that it doesn't run, because it's quite cold in here and there's no hardener in this, so it won't go off as such, it will just dry out. But there's our pattern, so that's the YT160, and I'll do the same with the R500, and we can just see what the pattern's like. I think they're going to be the same, or very similar, because they've learnt from the A610, I think. Let's have a look. So we're up with the R5, back with the R500. Now I haven't touched the gauge, everything is set to full fan, full fluid, everything is exactly the same. But as I say, I haven't touched the gauge, and when you look at it, it's pulling 0.20, which is 2 bar, to 0.21 bar. Now that means that's between 29 and 31 psi, but what it means is this gun is actually drawing slightly less air than the YT160, which hopefully will be borne out in the air test, which will come up in a minute. But we'll yeah, let's see, shall we? 2 bar, that'll do. Like so. Again, I'll lift it up. Looks the same to me. Yeah, I would say that's the same. R500 slightly wider, but it's definitely the same pattern, which is quite different to the A610. As I say, I'm not going to go through the A610 now, because it just means I've got to clean another gun out. But if you look at the other video, you'll see it there. But yeah, I would say they're more or less the same. This is just shrinking back slightly, and that's because it's just sinking into the paper, but they're more or less the same. So let's get on with the air test now, and we'll see which one of these four, because I've got the Kiwami4 as well, which one uses the least air and the most air. Right, so I'm going to set this to 2 bar. It's the Kiwami4. So at 2 bar, which is 29 psi. I'll wait for the compressor to finish, so we know that it's at full capacity, and we'll just run it and take the time it takes before the compressor kicks in. And I'll start the stopwatch. I don't think you can see this, but I'll start the stopwatch at the same time. It's all in real time, so you can see anyway. So compressor's now full, and we'll start the two together and see how long it takes, and we'll just compare all four. There's a diaphragm regulator, there's a diaphragm on the end of the filter unit, so this pressure should stay steady all the time. And if you're wondering why I'm saying that, is that there'll be a link in the description to my test of regulators, and it explains the... So that was 25 seconds. So let's just write that down here. So the Kiwami4 is 25 seconds. I'll write them down on the screen anyway. So we'll now try the YT160 and see what that is. Again, all the controls are fully open. Fans fully open, everything's fully open, so we'll get an idea of how much more or less this uses by looking at the pressure this draws initially. So it's definitely using less air than the Kiwami4, because it's showing 2.2 bar, which is about what, 33 psi. So let me just bring that down. I'm going to have to wait for the compressor to come up again now. So we're going to run the compressor down, get that at steady 2, wait for the compressor to kick in again, and then I'll start the stopwatch. Wouldn't be fair otherwise, because we're taking time to adjust the pressure. So I'll wait for the compressor to build up, and then we'll start again. Right, YT160, here we go. Oh, it's actually showing left now. So 2 bar, which is the same as we left the Kiwami at. We're up to 20 seconds now. We're up to 25 seconds now, so that's where the Kiwami cut in again. 27 seconds. See if we can get this swapped over. So we'll try the A610 now. Put the A610 on there. Again, all the controls are fully open. See if we can set this up while it's running. What is that? I'm going to have to let the compressor run down again. We're all set. Compressors recharged. Yep, 2 bar. "15 seconds, 20, so 25 was the Kiwami, gone past that, 27, 28. So the A610 is actually using slightly less air than the YT160. Better clear coat gun that. Right, let's get this thing on. It's so cold today, I can hardly feel my fingers. And the R500. Reset that. Right, so R500, compressor's just recharged. Let's go. You can put it up to 20, get it the same, that's it. "15 seconds, it's slightly 21, too much. "27, same as the YT160. So as you can see, turn this thing off. All these caps, although they spray slightly differently, i.e. the A610 sprays quite differently, which is in the other video, the R500 and the YT160 are as near as damn it exactly the same. My argument is that the Kiwami4 needs to be used at about 2 bar. With these, you need to use these, let me stop, you need to use these at about 2.5 bar. Right, so the compressor's just charged. I've set this to 2.5 bar, which is about 36 psi, which is where I think you're going to need to use this, which is the same as the R500, and we'll see how long it takes to kick the compressor in, and that will give us a comparison against the Kiwami then. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 21 seconds. And turn that off. So what I'm trying to say is, although these things are great value for money, work really well, if you're working at home and you have a limited air supply and you don't mind spending money on a better quality tool, which a lot of us don't, a lot of us like to buy quality tools, but you're worried about the air consumption, with a Kiwami4, to get the same results as one of these, slightly better probably, the Kiwami4 result wise and obviously build wise, but to get the same results you need to use this at a higher pressure. So this actually uses more air than a Kiwami4. I hope that makes sense, but yeah, it's about 4 seconds, so it's probably the equivalent of about 2.5 CFM. So these aren't, you know, they're good value for money, they'll do your job, they're quite good on air, but they're not the be all and end all that you know, a lot of people seem to think they are for use at home. You can get just as much use out of one of these, a standard Kiwami4 with a BA4J cap. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video as always. Bye bye.